I did air guitar this time. I tried to mix it up. Welcome to the lounge. I'm Matt with Voltner Woodworking and your host of the Maker Lounge podcast, where we have a rotating group of makers hanging out and talking shop with each other. Contrary to popular belief, this DIY guy is not as lazy as he says, and she has a name that's as easy to spell as Sriracha. Today I'm joined with Adam and Raechal with Makers Challenge Central, a friendly online woodworking competition that started in 2016 and has spawned TV and production careers for both Adam and Raechal. Thanks, guys, for being on the podcast.
Hey.
Thanks for having us.
I like to hit people with the intro, and get their natural take.
It's true. I got to work on that.
So when I was messaging with Adam, I was like, I think I spelled your name wrong, like at least 3 times. And so finally I was like, okay, I'm going to memorize this thing.
I know. My first name is spelled stupid too, so.
Yeah.
It's okay. My phone's taken, 6 years now to figure out how to spell Raechal correctly when I text her or send a message. So we're good now. It just takes 6 years.
Right.
You've got time.
Okay. Perfect. So I have about a little over 5.5 years to go.
Good.
Yeah.
We'll be on a first name basis before long.
Sure.
It's Mrs. Maker Challenge Central to you.
Yeah. Before we get to the episode today, I want to thank our sponsor, Surf Prep Sanding. Whether you're looking for the highest quality of sanders, dust extractors, or abrasives, Surf Prep has what you need to take your project to the next level. I've been using Surf Prep for a couple of years now and know firsthand the quality of their products. The amazing family who stands behind their brand is by far the best in the industry. Use code MAKERLOUNGE, all one word, for 10% off your order at surfprepsanding.com. So Adam, Lazy Guy DIY, how did that name come about?
Well, I had a completely different name picked out. And then right before I was going to buy the website and everything else, my wife just kept saying how lazy I was on my projects and just said, "You're a lazy guy." And I said, "I really like the sound of Lazy Guy DIY." And that was it. And it was literally 5 minutes before I purchased another domain.
Oh, nice. Now I'm really curious on what it was before.
It was my street name. Old street name. So not to give that away, it would have been stupid to have that everywhere so people could find me.
Right. Yeah. And so Raechal, you are Desert Woodworks.
Yeah.
WRKS.
Yeah.
Which probably works well for Twitter and stuff like that because you only have a limited amount of characters anyway.
That's exactly why I thought of it, really. Not at all.
Right.
But we can go with that. It really is because at the time I was living in Utah and southern Utah, where I lived, was the desert. So just made sense. And then I moved to Texas and have confused everyone who wants to know, why do I live in Texas and have a desert name? And I've repeatedly, messed around with I feel like I just need to change it. And then something like this happens, or a TV show, and it's too late and I can't change it. So here we are with a name that means nothing to me other than where I started 7 years ago.
Yeah, it's your beginning, which is
true.
Cool. What part of Texas are you in?
I am currently in Fort Worth. So I live in what's called the middle cities. So I'm 20 minutes from Fort Worth, 30 minutes from Dallas. So I get the best of everything.
Cool. Yeah, I'm in Houston, and I still don't get the whole Dallas-Fort Worth. Is it Dallas? Is it Fort Worth? Is it Dallas-Fort Worth?
It's confused. And Dallas doesn't love Fort Worth, and Fort Worth doesn't love Dallas. They almost compete against each other. And I think it really goes back to why the cities were established, Fort Worth was cattle, Dallas was oil. So they just never mix.
Yeah.
So wait a second here. As a Virginia boy, are you telling me there's no deserts in Texas? That seems right to me.
It doesn't seem right, but no, I don't know. I guess outside of it, and the weird thing is I'm in the most populated, in Houston too. So, everywhere outside of Texas is Texas, but except for where we live, it's just so not Texas-y.
Yeah.
But,
so I'm originally from California, and if you watch any of the shows, you watch American Idol or any of the reality shows, whenever they have somebody from Texas, they always have a huge belt buckle. They're always riding a horse. And so before I moved out here, which was in 2007, I had somebody say, yeah, you should look at Houston. I work in oil and gas. And they said, oh, move out to Houston and, work for the company out there. And I was like, well, I don't own a horse. I was driving I was driving a Chevy Cobalt with a spoiler on it.
No.
I was like, I can't ride on dirt roads, because every time you see on TV, that's what you see. Like, where's your hitching post?
It's so true. Biggest misconception. It's really, it's a lot. Actually, Dallas Fort Worth area is a lot like California without the smog and the pollution and a little bit of traffic. But 'cause I'm from Southern California too. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm from Orange County, Fullerton. But yeah, so it's same homeless population and everything, and it's very, very dense living, and
No
nothing like the
tumbleweeds.
show on TV. No tumbleweeds.
My mind is blown.
Yes,
We ruined it for you.
right.
Yep.
And then when I think of Richmond, I think, initially before I went up there, I thought, it's just a bunch of trees, and it's one little house off in the back, people living remotely. There's so we have our own misconceptions.
It's
Very
our
true.
city on a river with lots of fun downtown area.
Yeah, it sounds way better than Houston. Yeah, no, deserts are dry. Houston is wet. You can basically drink the air.
Yeah.
I guess I got to get to Texas more. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have lots of friends in Houston, Matt. There's tons of Houston
So we actually
woodworkers.
we've got a Houston woodworking group on Instagram, and then we've actually got a Discord. I'm not on it very often, but just a way to communicate. Like if you've got questions with things, or we share price lists very often of the different woodworking wood suppliers and stuff. So it's good. When I want to offload some tools, they're the first people I go to. That way I don't have to try to get people from Facebook Marketplace.
And they rob you blind.
Yeah. You post something for $1,000, they're like, "Would you take 100? I can come pick it up right now." I'm like, "I bet you will."
And I'll give you a lawnmower too.
Yeah. You got anything else for sale in this garage?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't want those people in my garage. So let's talk about Makers Challenge Central. So how did it get started?
Rachel, you want to give the origin story?
Yeah, so it started about 2016, like a little few months before we actually did our first challenge. And it was just at that time I had a group of 6 other women that we chatted when we were building things together, and found out that a few of us happened to be building a console table. But as we were chatting, we were building the same console table, but all finishing it differently, which I thought was so interesting. And then the thought came to me that, like, what if we all built the same thing, but then showed how you finish it differently? How do we modify things? Someone was making theirs longer, and it was an Anna White build plan. And we all were kind of just modifying it a little bit. And so they were like, that sounds fun. Let's get Anna to tell us which one's the best, since it's her build plan. And so I spent 2 months emailing her weekly, asking her if she would judge, because my friends were like, she's too busy. There's no way. He ended up replying, offering the first prize that we ever had out of her pocket, writing a blog post about it, and then promoting it. So if that's anything about who she is as a person, and she was like, this is a great idea. You should keep doing it. And so I threw it up on my social media. At that time, I think I had 10,000 followers, and just said, hey, we're doing this challenge. Anna White's giving a prize if anyone wants to join. We're building a console table. And the first challenge had Adam, who participated, and about 39 other people. So that was surprising in it of itself, and started basically the Builders Challenge. At that time, it was called the Instagram Builders Challenge, and then it has evolved into other challenges. And season 4, I asked Adam to partner with me because it then just became so much. We were doing more than one challenge, more than one a year. At that time had thousands of people already registering for it, and it was just very overwhelming for me. And so in a conversation, I basically suckered him into joining me, and we've been partners ever since.
And he's been regretting it ever since.
Ever since.
Possibly. There's probably multiple times, but too bad.
You know, it's funny though, in the first season, so I had just joined Instagram a few months before, I think March or April of 2016. And then this was it July, I guess, was our first one. And so I'd only been around a little bit. I was brand new to Instagram. I didn't even have an account before that. I saw that pop up on there. And I was like, oh, I'm going to do this. And I thought I was going to win. And then terrible judging didn't pick mine. But no, there was a great winner. Everybody criticized everybody's, of course, quietly, right. But cheered everybody on in the community. And then, it was just one of those random things in the feed that I saw. And it just, it's obviously changed my life from there. Yeah.
Yeah. You've been busy. So the two of you are primarily running this thing. Is there people behind the scenes helping do different tasks? Or are you guys doing all the website and everything?
We just brought on our first admin this year. We finally were like, and actually the back half, because we just got so busy, and we were like, maybe we're grown up enough to have someone that is an employee of Makers Challenge. But up until then, it's really been he and I that have basically built the entire thing: the website, the Instagram, the challenges, the sponsors, the meetings with brands. And then we also participate because we absolutely the main purpose of this is community. And so the reason that we both participate is to show that, listen, if this is something we can do, you can do. And if we can help you, we want to help you. And that's really, we have build team members that participate with us. And that's absolutely the main reason why they do it too, is really to share their tips, their tricks, how they do things with the community. So that's our main driving force. And, we spent money a lot in the beginning because it really was about making sure everyone was set up for success with prizes and working with different sponsors and our friends. And it truly is something that everyone does literally because they love the community.
That's really cool.
What's crazy is when I first came in with Raechal was buying the T-shirts for all participants pretty much, from her own pocket. And I'm like, we can get sponsors for that.
Yeah.
There's things that we can do here. Yeah. And you don't have to spend hundreds of dollars each season on T-shirts for all participants.
Wow. Yeah, that's a huge undertaking. Not only from the time investment and the money.
Yeah, and the real purpose of why I did it is because we started getting so many people participating that it was one prize, then it was 3 prizes, and then I felt terrible that people were not getting anything. So then, one season I was like, hey, if you participate, we'll send you a T-shirt. That spawned hundreds of people, and I was like, oh, for a T-shirt? Okay. And at the time, my husband was like, you bought what? And I was like, yeah, I think I'm doing this wrong. And Adam was like, I think you're doing this wrong.
So then at that point, Adam was the guy who took over all of the marketing part of it, or the prizes?
Pretty much. Mm-hmm. And establishing that we can't do this by ourselves. We need people to help us build, to show different skill levels. Adam was the one that really pulled different community people. I say Adam knows everybody. Truly, he really does, and has a great relationship with so many people. So I would say he really was the driving force of taking it to the next level and seeing the potential of we don't have an epoxy challenge. Let's look at that. And we would have these brainstorming sessions of what are skills that people don't know that we can help them develop. And that's really how we pick each challenge, is what is something we want to develop? What are other things people want to develop? So
Yeah. So you have the Builders Challenge. You have 14 seasons under your belt on the Builders Challenge. You've got the Furniture Flip. You've got 5 seasons of the Furniture Flip.
Yeah.
And then I'm not sure which one came first, the Mallet Challenge or the Handmade Holiday Challenge.
I think they were around the same. Mallet was first, right?
I think Mallet was first, and then the Handmade Holiday was because we just were getting so busy, and Adam and I were kind of getting away from why we started this in the first place, which was he and I love to build and create. And so we wanted to have one that was just pure joy, that was a challenge between the two of us, that got us into the wood shop, and that just gave back. And so it really is one of my favorite ones because of the purpose behind it.
Yeah. Adam, is that your favorite one as well?
No, I think that's by far. You know what? I actually like the OG, the Builders Challenge one, because a lot of times I'm also designing plans, and I like to design and see what other people come up with from my originals. The one year we paired with Jory, and that was by far. I mean, I love his stuff. And then we consulted on the design for that. The winner got to go to his ranch and build like the Jory style. It was a chair or end table or something like that. But I mean, man, that stuff's cool to see people flex from an idea that you put out there.
Right. So you, like in the Builders Challenge, you've got people who register to join, and then you go through a selection process.
No, so it's open to anybody. So what we do is they register, no cost to entry or anything, and then on the same date, everybody gets the plans, and they can decide what they want to build from it. They can either, and we have different skill levels, so you can build exactly what I put out there, or you can just take the idea and run with it. Like if we say, if we put a chair out there, don't build a bed, but we leave it pretty open.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, you see some crazy stuff out there each year. And as technology is advanced, like CNCs came in one year and really like took away, like ran away with some stuff.
Yeah.
And then like the real like fine craftsmen came out the next year, and then like, okay, we've got to beat these CNC people. So it's fun to see the ebbs and flows from there.
Yeah. Do you find that there's a healthy balance of the hand tool versus machine group?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's the one thing we sort of stress too with the different skill levels, like the novices. We don't want to scare people away. It was one big open category at once, and we started noticing that there was a little bit too much, a lot of like pros coming in there, and it was scaring away the beginners, which is what we started with. But we don't want to run the the fine craftsman professionals way, so we split that out. So we had multiple skill levels, and then I think it's okay if you start seeing some of those CNC people in there, but we also require things like advanced joinery or multiple types of joinery, and that you're not going to fake with the CNC or at least not fake, but use the CNC as a crutch. You still have to go in and have some skill to do that. So we try to equalize it and let everybody sort of flex their muscles.
Yeah. Do you have a bias or a slant toward one style versus the other?
Oh, fine craftsman all the way. CNCs, they terrify me. I've never done one. I've never had the space to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe one day, but I lean. Luckily, I'm not a judge. Raechal, she's not a judge. We usually get in third-party judges for that reason. But yeah, I love fine craft.
Yeah. So Raechal, I saw Clint Harp was a judge, I think, at one point. How that? I mean, you try to find other well-known people out there.
Yeah, I mean, selfishly, I kind of use the challenge as like, who are like my dream people or people that I admire in the woodworking field that I would love to create with, or to even just have a conversation with. In season 2, we did a dining table, and the plans were created by Shanty to Chic, who then that dining table is now available in a local to Fort Worth home store. But they designed that plan, and we asked them to judge, and they said, "Oh yeah, and we have a friend. Do you care if he judges with us? His name's Clint Hart." And I was like, "Ooh, yeah, sure, we'll let him,
Yeah.
sure."
Never heard of him.
So he judged with them, and then we became, I would say, I don't want to say friends, but I'm like, oh yeah, we're friends. No, we've never met in person, but
Yeah.
I've met
so
him
we
in
started
person.
So we've communicated over email. He has judged a couple of I think like 3 challenges for us, simply because, again, he wants to support the woodworking community. We've had Chip Wade, we've had Tom Berry, we've had, oh my gosh, what's his name? He does Restaurant Impossible, has also judged for us. But it's kind of just been this thing for us to be able to reach out to, like, who are those people that, you've always admired, and you would be amazed to see how many people love the thought of giving back to the community. So it's definitely been a pleasure for us to be able to work with these people, but it's been amazing for our participants to have these level of woodworkers and craftsmen and contractors looking at their pieces. So, and to that end is, we started with the Furniture Flip Challenge working with Do It Yourself magazine, and that's also just been a great joy for us to be able to have that partnership with them. We've worked with Wood Magazine. They've created plans for us and also judged multiple times.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I would say what's incredible about what we do is the community that we do it with. Like, it's just amazing to see the people that want to help each other.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really. Are they publishing those in their episodes on the magazines? Or are they?
Yeah, so we have been featured in Do It Yourself magazine a couple times. Wood Magazine put the build plans for season 7 in their magazine as well. We've done a couple articles with them. So yeah, it's really been pretty amazing. Like, we feel really lucky.
That's really cool. So if somebody was looking to get into this, they've never done a challenge before, never done something like this. Maybe they're just getting started. What would you tell them?
I mean, I think it's just, don't be intimidated if you've seen anything out there before. If you go to the site and see, I mean, we're obviously showcasing some amazing stuff in the feed that come from the pros as well. But like, everything's so approachable. We make sure that it's approachable to all skill levels. We really want to cater to the beginners. And I mean, the cool thing is that once you start tagging and people see, I mean, the whole community jumps in that's participating as well, and they love offering feedback or giving you praise and all kinds of things. And that is, if you're just starting out, I mean, that's where my Instagram account grew from originally, was from the challenge and the people in the challenge resharing, posting, commenting, and everything else. And that's really what we want to try to get to and keep that going with the Makers Challenge Central.
Yeah. Raechal, anything to add on that?
I mean, I would, really just add to that while the prizes have gotten insane, I mean, I think we're up to several $1,000s in prizes each season, but we try to keep the main purpose of it back to community. That if you're starting a social media and you're new to not woodworking, but woodworking on social media, furniture flipping, epoxy, any of that stuff, this is the best way to grow your account through other people, because people do follow the hashtags and then they will follow you. I mean, we've seen so many people who have started with the Builders Challenge and now are in the hundreds of thousands of followers. There's one person in particular, his first post was a dining table for season 2, and now has 270,000 followers. So
wow.
It's a great way to grow your social. Tamar 3x3 Custom started an Instagram because she wanted to participate in season 3, and look at Tamar's genius,
right.
That has just exploded. So I would say, even though we're not responsible for that talent, that it's really what brings people into the community, and gives people that sense of support that they need when they're starting out. And that's the real purpose of why we continue to just do it every season. So
that's great. Has there been any like rising stars that kind of surprised you?
Oh man. Well, I think if we want to jump into like with Mallet, we have our hashtag woodworking, our angry across the pond foul mouth woodworker over there. But I mean, he participated early on in challenges. Gosh, I'm trying to think. We've had so many that have just really taken off, but he
Yeah.
stands out the most to me. And I mean, he's hosted our Mallet challenge before, and I mean his work is amazing, and it's crazy to see some of these people come like a long way from the start. Um, our
Season five, season five, we had a Designs by Johnny participated, and then I think a
mhm.
few seasons later, he then judged, and then he did a build off series with us on YouTube. And Johnny is somebody who, again, incredible skill, but participated with us in a challenge. So
Yeah.
that's definitely been a joy to watch people. And our like Adam and I definitely, one thing, we'll look at the participants and we'll see somebody be like, they're going somewhere. And
Yeah.
like, it's so fun to watch that person succeed. It's really, I don't know. It's like, it's a blessing, but that sounds super cheesy, but it is really
No, that's
cool.
awesome. That's awesome. So you did the big build off, and you had a few different people participate in that, and then you were kind of splicing together their videos. Well, I guess I'm assuming that you were doing all the editing, and there was some sort of big Dropbox that everybody put in everything into.
Yeah.
It was
That sounds like a logistic, well, nightmare.
so so as the editor of that footage and accepting everything in there, it was crazy. So we had the idea of this, and we really wanted to do a live event tied around this too. And things COVID was that when COVID was just kicking out too, because we were going to do
Yeah.
a live reveal and everything.
Yeah.
And it was it changed our entire plan on this thing. So we were like, okay, everybody's going to be in their shops. We're going to do it all here. And then we had people, I mean, we had to do things on the fly, but so we wanted to do things well ahead of time. It didn't work as well as we wanted. And so like, I'm getting stuff a week ahead to edit up. I'm like, give me whatever you got. I'll run through, do like a sizzle reel, essentially host it, do a reaction of me hosting everything,
Right.
and then splicing all together and putting it out there. And then Clint was our judge for this also, Clint Harp. So he had to go through, watch the videos, look at the submissions, and then pick his stuff as well. And then like nobody knew who the winner was at the group until they watched Clint reveal it on there. So they're sitting at home with like family watching until we had like a countdown in a YouTube post.
Yeah.
And so they are all watching and cheering, and we did like a live reveal, and Amy ended up winning from, oh my gosh, Amy, I'm sorry, I forgot your
Her
her
belt.
tool belt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a $5,000 prize. That was one of our biggest
That's
prizes
great.
that we've ever done. And they all donated their tables to charity. That we used that challenge to launch our own charity that we have, which is called the Builders Challenge Give Back. And so that was really cool too, because again, like we just kind of had these pie in the sky hopes. And as the challenge grew, we finally were like, okay, now we can launch our charity, because again, this is just all about community and how can we give back and do more. And so that was really amazing to see where they built all the dining tables and where they ended up going to. So
Right.
it was pretty special.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of the stuff that you do is about paying it forward or passing it on. Is there a motto or a like a mission statement for the organization?
Yeah,
We're
I
not
mean,
that
our mission
organized.
statement. Our
Come on,
mission
let's
statement.
get out your pens. Let's get this thing going.
It is community with a little competition, because healthy competition is good, but really the very first letter in what we do, or word in what we do, is community. So we do try to live everything by community with a little competition.
Yeah.
And like everything we've done, also we've done quite a few charity things. Anything from we did the little libraries or the little pantries where we donate it, and one of our partners donated for every one of those that were put out there. We did events in Chicago with Cat Footwear where we built tables for like a community school type thing. And there was always a little bit of fun competition in those for the teams to like get ahead of each other, or like the big build off when we were going to do this live event, we were going to have stuff that we were going to donate to local charities as well. So like you just want to get like those teams of like the woodworkers, and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to make this, we're going to knock out like 10 tables, or we're going to build something a little bit cooler.
Yeah.
And it's been, we try to still bring a little bit of our identity into those, and it's been fun. And we've had to obviously adjust here with the last couple of years.
Yeah. All that, the couple of years that basically didn't exist, but they do exist. And yeah. So going back to you did the live finale of the big build off, and was that your first kind of live thing? What spawned the whole, TV and all that kind of stuff?
I would say we've always wanted to take this to another level and see what the next big thing is with this. And we love the concept of it. We know there's an opportunity, and you start seeing these competition shows out there and you're like, oh, I could do this better, or I could do it a little bit differently. So that was sort of our take of that. And the funny thing about that is that then both Raechal and I got reached out to by an actual TV show it's now called Renovation Hunters. So now we're on a TV show because we were pulling together a TV show. I think it's part of it.
Yeah.
We don't know the real reason. But yeah, and that sort of spawned from that. And then Raechal, you want to sort of talk about what we just did?
Yeah.
TV
so,
show-wise?
Kind of like you are saying, we've been wanting to do a live event. Lots of people have been wanting us to do a live event. We taught 4 classes at Workbench Con that were really successful, packed rooms. And so we were like, okay, how else can we keep doing these live things? And then also at Workbench Con, we are really good friends with a marketing company called LaCursi Group. A lot of people know them. They represent AWP and Firm Grip and Gorilla Grip and numerous brands. But I just over breakfast, I was saying, just as friends, like, oh, Adam and I have been trying to figure out a live event ever since we planned the one for COVID. I feel like it's now time to bring something back. And they were like, oh, what kind of an event are you thinking of? And I'm like, I just think it'd be cool to bring in 10 to 15 people and like, let's challenge each other and work together and show off our skills together, because we all basically, I mean, a lot of us are professionals, but some of us didn't start as professionals. I did not start as a professional. And so just to be in a room where you could like learn and grow from someone. And Megan, who's the president of LaCursi Group, is like, I had a brand that had asked me, is there a way that we can get live footage of this product in use?
Cool.
And she was like, what if we partner on something? And I'm like, I think there could be some potential there. So that was February. We had some conversations with them. In the middle of that conversation was, okay, let's pause this venture and talk about you coming to work for LaCursi Group first. So I started working for them. And then one of the first things that Megan, she was like, hey, take this idea and go. And awesome. It was a partnership between Makers Challenge and LaCursi Group with me right in the middle of it, where we invited, I think we ended up with 13 of our friends to Tampa. We used Megan's backyard. She was very generous because if anything went wrong, it would be up to her to fix it. But we took 10 days and we built a deck and filmed the entire thing. So, and It will be featured with Do It Yourself magazine in their summer 23 issue. So they came out at the end of it, styled the whole shoot, did all of the photography for it. They're going to be interviewing a couple of the influencers, featuring the influencers. And what's great about this is that we are now bringing together do-it-yourself, like print, magazine, digital, with do-it-yourself people. Like this could not be a better marriage if we had planned it, where these are literally people who they may not know how to do it, but they're going to figure out how to do it. I mean, some of the things that Adam and I did during that week, I'd never built a deck before. I'd never done footings. I'd never, and you know, we had 2 general contractors there, and they would teach us how to do it, and then we would do it, and then they would supervise us doing it. And the end result just could not have been more magical. But none of us expected to become basically best friends with everyone else there throughout the entire week. We sang together. We, you know, I mean, it was karaoke in the evenings and hanging out at the end, enjoying the pool at the end, pushing each other in the pool that existed. Just, we had the best of the shenanigans and talent, and it was so fun, and to film the whole thing was just such a joy. And so that will be launching in 2023 at minimum as a YouTube series on Makers Challenge Central. But we definitely have a few plans up our sleeves and hope that more comes of it that we can't speak about yet, but hopefully we'll be able to soon.
You actually forgot that we had a hurricane go over us in the middle of it all too.
During a hurricane, so true.
It was so fun to watch. You know, I was getting 13 different perspectives on the same event just by following along the various social media posts and stories and things like that. And that goes back to, you know, just really enjoying a live type of thing. And so, because, you know, if you're watching the Instagram stories from all these different people, which it was a cool experience to see all of the different live, you know, segments and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I bet you everybody was super excited that they weren't having to man the camera.
Yes, absolutely.
Put content creators in a room with 3 cameras that they could just say like, hey, can you film this? Hey, can you film this?
Right.
And I mean, definitely one of the biggest things that we wanted to ensure was that we all collaborated and shared that material with each other. And so it's all in post editing right now, but all 15 of us are going to get access to that content so that we can then, you know, create our own content with that too, because I do believe that you get more with sharing your experiences and sharing all of that stuff. Like, you know, only good can come of it from collaborating. And we had an amazing experience collaborating with like-minded people. Like, I think we all are in our shops every day, all day, not talking to people and just talking to our phone, and to talk to each other and to be like, how do you do this? And how do you do that? And that was so fun. And all of us left like, okay, when's the next one? And I was like, okay, let's edit this one first. But yeah, there's already a next one in the plans of like, how can we all do this again? So
that's
it was
awesome.
Very successful.
Yeah, I bet you most of us are married or in relationships with people who have zero interest in what we do. And so it's great to get around like-minded people and get all that kind of stuff out. Mm-hmm. Anytime I can do a maker meetup or things like that, I also have a great time. And that's the reason why I started the podcast, because now I can talk about things that I enjoy talking about, get it all out. And then I can talk about, you know, other things with my wife and she doesn't have to hear about all of it.
You mean you want me to do a podcast about Target runs and everything else? All the
yeah. So she's a teacher, so we talk about school a lot. What's the most interesting piece that you guys have seen in the various challenges?
Oh,
I think there's 2 that come to mind for me.
What's yours? Go for it.
One, there is a person, Decine Designs, and it was his very first time ever building anything. And he built a desk. It was season 3. Sam, DIY Huntress, designed the plan. And he built a compass and a map into the top of the desk. Had never done any kind of woodworking, no CNC. It was so incredible. And then the next season, was it there, or the season previously, we had someone, and they took like particle boards, not the right word, but they took like plywood, like thin plywood, and just like laminated it into this swoop and then repeated it. And it was just layers. And you would just think like, who builds anything out of plywood, like furniture wise? Yeah. And then he cut glass to go over it and made this coffee table that was so incredible.
Wow.
Those are mine too, off the top of my head, that I'm like, dang, that's so creative. And so there was a coffee table and a desk, those 5 and 6.
And I'm going to go a completely different route. And I say this every time. And even though I don't participate, but in the Furniture Flip Challenge, somebody did a piano and restored this thing and painted it and did all kinds of stuff. And it's like, there's not a lot of time to do this and get this thing going. And it was crazy. Like, I'm like, there's no way that this lady's going to finish this thing. And sure enough, she did. It looked amazing. And it's like,
yeah,
more power to you.
I saw that one. That was the one that you had the magazine judge that one, right? That challenge. Yeah. And that piano had so many different, it was like, I don't know, grills or whatever, different, so much sanding.
Yeah. Oh, that too.
Yeah. Wow. It was one of those things where it's like, there was just so many little details of things, and then you go through and paint them. And I mean, we zoom in close on those pictures too, and see what the quality is like. Right. And I mean, she did an amazing job on that one.
Very cool. Hey, I want to play a little bit of a game. Okay. Just to shift gears here for a second. I don't have an official name for this game. So on this podcast, we do things. I have a game. It's called Yes or No. I did one with Izzy Swan that was a rapid fire one. But I played this one in the last episode with the guys from TNT Industries because the two of them work together. And I figured since the two of you have been working together for some time now, I would play the same game. So we'll just call it the game of who.
Okay.
All right. So I'll ask basically who's better or whatever. There's kind of a series of different questions. I probably have 5 or 6 of them. And what you got to do is I'll ask a question and both of you can respond at the same time. So Adam, if it's you would say Adam. You know, if it's Raechal, you would say Raechal. And Raechal, if you say, so say your own name if it's you. Because this is an audio medium and we want people to, not that they can't tell you apart, right, by the way you speak, but.
There's going to be a fight after this. I can feel it already.
Well, that's what we're hoping for. And this was the last time they ever talked to each other.
No. Yep, that's right. And that's the day the challenge died.
Yeah. That jerk, Matt, he just busted this whole thing up. Right. No, it should be fairly harmless. All right, we get to use the fun bell. Who has the most hustle?
Raechal.
Boy, there was like zero hesitation on that.
I mean, I'm lazy guy DIY.
Well, that's true. Yeah. And some of these questions might be slighted, just, based off of the name or, what I've seen. But like I said in the intro, you're not lazy. I mean, you're doing all this stuff. You're busy. And you wouldn't have jumped on board if you were lazy.
That's right.
You'd have been like, somebody else could do that, Raechal.
It would have been procrastination DIY. Maybe would have been a little bit better name.
Start a second account.
That's right.
You'll start a second account someday.
Someday, if I get to it.
All right. Next one. Who's funnier?
Adam.
You're going to concede that quickly?
She says resentfully.
I'm so funny. My kids hate all my jokes. That's how you know I'm nailing it.
Yeah. Are you the dad joke? Dad jokes?
Horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So good.
Do you have any like that you regularly are able to like canned dad jokes? Or
my favorite thing now is because I have young kids. I had 8, a 4, and a 1, and it's not a great joke, but they love knock knock jokes, and I'm just so tired of them. Like, stop asking me to say knock knock.
Right.
And so they'll do a knock knock, and I'll just say hello. I'll go hello, come in, and it gets them so angry all the time that I don't do the who's there.
Yeah.
And they just storm off, and I'm like, mission accomplished.
Right. Yeah. You haven't succeeded as a dad unless you get your kids upset that they can't out joke
right.
you.
That's right.
All right. Who's better on camera?
Adam.
Adam.
Rachel's getting there.
Yeah. So is it
I mean-
is it that you are shy? I don't take you as the shy kind of person.
Okay, I'll tell you what it is. It's Adam somehow is a one-take wonder. So, like when we film stuff for the TV show, they'll be like, "Okay, Adam, let's get this cut of you," and and they'll be like, they ask him a question, he lands it, and then they're like, "Okay, cut. All right, you're good to go." And then they're like, "Okay, Rachel," and like he'll go, I'll go off, and his confessionals take 10 minutes, mine take 20. And he always likes to be like, "So how many times do I have to ask you that question?" And I'm like, ugh. And then when we do it next to each other, I'll like, I don't, and then I'm like, "One more time." And he's like, 2 takes. 3 takes. And I'm like, "This is you." But yeah, he nails it in 1 take. Now I've cursed you every time, and it does not go unnoticed or unfrustrated. By more than just me, we have a trust, but it's okay.
That's a perfect segue into the next question. Come on, Belle. Who's more competitive?
Raechal.
Really? Okay, I'll take it. Sure, probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
You were thinking him?
I want to say him, but then I realized that when we compete, he's usually like, "It's fine, you can win." And then I know he doesn't really think I've won, and then that's not really winning.
Yeah. Well, you said it kind of early on when you said that you build 8 things during this challenge. He builds 1. You're like, I'm not going to lose.
I think
yeah.
No, I refuse.
You like this one? He's like, meh. You're like, well, I've got another one. How about this one? Is this one better?
That's all right.
I think I already knew the answer to that one before I asked it. All right, we got 2 more. And I love these because it's just, you get to see a little bit of the things we probably wouldn't have talked about otherwise, and we can burn through it and people can get to know you a little bit more.
Love it.
Most likely to give out a consolation prize?
Raechal.
Rachel.
Oh, she's too nice about stuff.
Like T-shirts.
Yeah, exactly.
I once had a person, I had someone DM me once and say I had used the Craig jig, and they said, well, I'd be able to do that too if I had one. And I was like, "Okay, give me your address, I'll send you one." And I sent him a Craig jig. So I'm like, "If you think that's what's going to hold you back from the competition, let's not hold you back." And they were like,
yeah.
Seriously? And then it showed up 3 days later, and I was like, "Let's see what you can do."
Right. Did they follow through?
They did. They ended up participating in building something. And
nice.
So, I think
good.
mostly because they felt obligated, but that's okay. Whatever it takes.
Look at you being all empowering and stuff. That's awesome.
Or is it too nice, Adam?
Always nice. So it's good. We have to have somebody puts on the nice face,
yeah,
and then plays the bad cop on the other side. That's me, right?
If you have to ask,
it's Raechal.
She plays good cop and bad cop.
That's right.
Yeah. You're just lazy.
That's right.
So yeah, and I wrote all these questions before we had even talked. So I don't want you to think that I wrote these as you were talking, and I'm like, "Oh, consolation prize. Let me ask that one."
Nope, you're good.
Okay, last question. Who likes to break the rules?
That's tricky,
tough.
but I gotta say Adam.
I guess so. I mean, the only reason I would say me also is when we start doing the Builders Challenge stuff, I would push the limits on whatever the build was almost every time.
Yeah.
Where we have to make it within this, and I would be like, "Nope, I'm going way out in the left field," and Rachel would get so angry about it every single time. But then because it inspired other people to do like out of the box stuff.
Yeah.
So
it's not like Jackman when they were up at Maker Camp and he had they were doing the challenge where they build a boat or whatever. And all of a sudden you find out that his is a motorboat. They're all doing sailboats. And all of a sudden his boat just starts taking off and he's got a remote control. They're like, Yeah, that didn't quite fall within the bounds of the competition.
Made out of pallets, of course.
Right, of course. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, that's cool. I liked hearing a little bit more about you guys. I was like,
Who won?
we're gonna call it
Me.
a well. Since Rachel's
No,
more
no,
competitive,
no.
we're gonna
true.
say Raechal.
You passed your test.
No, let me help you
gonna
both.
have-
It was me.
I'm gonna have to go back through when I'm editing and tally up
Okay.
for each person that said it was the other person. You get a point or something.
Perfect.
Let's see. So, what's the future of the Maker's Challenge Central? I know you said there's some things you can't necessarily reveal, and I'm okay with that, even though I'll still try to pry a little bit.
I would say the biggest thing that we're focusing on, we went very big this last year. We had almost a dozen challenges throughout the year, and we want to focus a little bit more this year. So we have some really quality stuff, and really figure out ways to drum up the enthusiasm again, and get people excited about it. I mean, there was a resurgence when people were at home working, and then there's sort of that lull in between. Yeah. And so we really want to get that excitement back up again, and do some cool stuff, cool prizes, cool sponsors, and everything else. And we're going to up the quality. And then the funny thing about all this too is that Raechal and I are filming a TV show during all this as well. Yeah. So we did this last year. Yeah, in our spare time, we go out and we do a home renovation show over 10 days every few months. So it really, we want to focus on the quality this year. That's the big thing in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And like Adam said, we have a couple things up our sleeves that we just feel like will change things, will bring excitement, because the challenges are fun and we love doing it, but we always want to be challenging ourselves too, of like, how else can we evolve the community? So a good test run was doing something live and realizing that people love things live. And teaching classes, we realized people love actually Maker's Challenge live events. And so that's definitely something that's at the forefront of our mind, is that people like building by themselves, but they also like building together. And I think we're craving that personal contact, and that excites us. We're excited to figure out ways to bring that personal contact together more.
Yeah. So out of the different challenges that you run, is there any that might be going away because you're going to focus more on the others, or are you thinking about adding more?
No, I think we realized that. Oh, sorry, Adam. 12 was too many, and you don't have enough time, and people don't have enough time to get excited for the next one because we just finished one, and so. Or 10, we had 10. 10 was too many, so I think we want to do some editing. The furniture flip challenge has by far exceeded our expectations and is now more popular than the builders challenge, which then you focus on your first child and wonder like, oh, why don't people like the first child as much as they like this one? And so we want to reevaluate the builders challenge and make sure we're doing everything right there. And again, like I said, more live events, which means if we do more live events, then there's going to be less online events. So, we'll still touch on all the things people love, but we definitely want to give people a chance to get together more. So, and even if that means that it's different things across the country, because we all can't go to the East or the West, or, maybe we figure out a way to divide that up so that people can all meet. I think people want to meet, and so that's definitely something we want to bring to the table.
Awesome. Yeah, so this episode is going to come out on the 16th. That gives people 1 week to, if they're listening to this and they've been inspired, gives them 1 week to get jumped into this handmade holiday. All the procrastinators out there who are going to wait till the 23rd to buy Christmas gifts. Any last minute advice for somebody who's can get into the handmade holiday?
Well, I think first off, you're all makers, so you're going to be making something. Why not win money for doing it also on top of there? I mean, you're going to be doing it anyway. All you're doing is adding the hashtag Handmade Holiday Challenge 2022 on there, even though you're going to make it anyway. So that's the first start. But I mean, if you're as lazy as I am and you need a little motivation to make something for your loved ones, or even if an enemy or a frenemy or somebody you don't like, you can make them like something obscene and send it to them as well. Just make something.
Yeah.
If this gets you off the couch and in the shop, go for it.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and I would say to that end, if you need like a boost of like, I don't know what to do, Rockler, Woodcraft, Woodworkers Source, Forest to Home, they all have kits. So if you're like, I just don't know what to do, or I don't have the time to do it, like go get a cutting board kit or a cheese board kit, or I mean, there's so many kits now that help you if you aren't someone who is advanced, intermediate. You know, if you're just beginning, there's definitely ways to hand make things. So my kids love this time of year. They always do epoxy, and epoxy I feel like is one of those intimidating but least scary things to dip your toes in the creative pond. And so my kids love to try their hand at epoxy this time of year with making dominoes, making jewelry dishes, you know, coasters.
Yeah.
So I think that there's so many different ways to do handmade, and I like to see more of that because there's just more thought that goes into that, you know, making a gift for somebody.
Very cool. And then just to, and you mentioned some of the sponsors, Forest to Home. So for epoxy, Moss Epoxy, Triton, Craig, Wagner, WorkPro, Bessie, Walrus Oil, and Rockler.
Jet, Powermatic. I mean, we're so lucky, so lucky with the brands that support us. There's so many.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Hard to keep track of all of them. But Adam's doing all that, right?
You know, I'll tell you what, though, real quick, when we're talking about brands, the funny thing is that we've done a really good job, I feel like, of finding brands before they've taken off the community. And we kind of hope that we've done something to help them really launch. But like, there was a little company out of Missouri that we worked with years ago that Raechal met at a woodworking show, and that company was Walrus Oil. Like, they didn't really have a following. Wasn't a lot happening. We're not saying we made Walrus Oil
right.
what they are. Dave does an amazing job and everything else, but I mean, that was one that Raechal spotted when it was just a tiny little account. And there's been epoxy companies. There's been Surf Prep was a little company we hadn't really heard of when Casey from C. Reeves Makes brought them to our attention. And so, I mean, we really love finding these companies and helping them jump next level if it's possible and get to a new audience.
Yeah. I love the people over at Surf Prep. Of course, I'm wearing their hat today. So yeah,
I love Hannah.
Yeah. I'm going to have to, in fact, I was just talking with them. I was saying I'd love to have Hannah and Skylar on to just talk to a brand. Yeah. But I'd have to, let me get it ready. I'd probably, somebody was joking. I said I'd probably have to use this button
for Hannah, for sure, for Hannah.
Yeah,
we get along well in that department.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you for behaving on this one. I don't have to use that.
No,
button.
you did so good.
Yeah,
there's still time.
Yeah. Well, we'll head over to the after show. So continuing to talk about brands, I want to get your take. As someone who's now on the other side of the table, and get your take on working with people to do collaborations with. So working with makers. So we'll talk about that in the after show. Any last kind of thoughts? Anything you want to mention?
I mean, I love working with Raechal. I think it's been a crazy time, and it's just one of those things where you never know the relationships you're going to make in the community, and the only way you're going to do it is by branching out, sending somebody a DM, talking to them. I mean, Raechal and I actually worked together for several years before we actually even met in person, and you just never know the relationships you're going to kick off. So this community is they embrace everybody. So go out there, put yourself out there, and it doesn't matter how big your account is or what your skill level is, but there's always going to be somebody that can really help you elevate the next level.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Raechal, any other?
Yeah.
Cool.
No, well done, Adam. That was great. I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
One take. There we go.
Oh,
Never going to hear the end of that one.
Nope.
All right. Well, so where can people find your various accounts? Adam, start with you.
Right. Okay. You can find me everywhere at Lazy Guy DIY. So easy to find, all platforms except for TikTok, because I hate TikTok.
Amen. Tic Tac.
That's right.
Raechal?
same. Makers Challenge Central Desert Woodworks, and basically we have Instagram, website, and Facebook. So any of those.
What's
do have
Facebook?
a TikTok. We do. I know.
That's what my grandma uses.
Awesome. And all the links will be in the show notes as well for people to find you. And I'm Matt with Voltner Woodworking, and you can find me on Instagram and YouTube at Voltner Woodworking. I tell people, just like Adam, don't follow me on TikTok because it's just reposts of my Instagram content. I want to thank our sponsors for our Patreon sponsors, and they are Jimmy McAnally, Matthew with Archiano Serio, Victor with Wim Designs, Making It at Home, J&E Designs, Temecula Yard Games, and 513 Woodworks. So thank you to the Patreon supporters. If you're not a Patreon supporter and you want to hear what Raechal and Adam have to say on their perspective, being working with collaborators and working with makers from the different viewpoint, then you want to catch the after show. And the only way to do that is by going to patreon.com/Maker Lounge Podcast. If you have ideas for future episodes, you can DM me at Maker Lounge Podcast on Instagram, or send an email to makerloungepodcast@gmail.com. And then also the Patreon members get early access to these episodes. Typically episodes come out on Friday. They get it on Wednesday. They get the after show content, lots of goodies. And we have an Instagram chat. So we talk about things before anybody else knows about it. So it's a lot of fun. Next week, I'm going to have some guy you probably never heard of, Jason Bent. I'm going to have him on the podcast. Jason's awesome. He just signed up with Festool, so I'm sure everybody knows who Jason is. And then the following week, we're going to have Lindsay Creative on. So some really cool guests coming up. So make sure that you're following the Maker Lounge Podcast on Instagram, and you'll see all the fun reels I get to put together after I edit.
Oh, no.
Yay.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate you. We'll head over to the after show.
All right. Thanks for having us.
Thanks again to Surf Prep Sanding for sponsoring today's episode. Check them out on social media on all the platforms. Sign up for their Facebook group and use code MAKERLOUNGE, all one word, for 10% off your order at surfprepsanding.com. We are heading into the after show. If you're not a patron, we'll see you next week for another great episode. But if you are, you will receive a link to listen to the after show. Thanks so much for listening and sharing the podcast with your friends.